Hello, I'm Bud McCord. I'm here in Brazil, South America. Welcome to Food for Thought, Thinking with Jesus. We're in our study of the book of John. We completed yesterday the reading of John chapter 12. And today I'd like to just go back through some of the thoughts that came to me after the reading of John chapter 12. They all have deep and beautiful implications when it comes to discipleship. Just want to walk back through these. Next week we'll be in chapter 13, moving forward in our reading. First thing that I noticed in John chapter 12 is there's a beautiful thing that Jesus says in the beginning. Let me read the passage. Then 6 days before the Passover, Jesus came to Bethany where Lazarus, who had been dead, whom he had raised from the dead. There they made him a supper, and Martha served, but Lazarus was one of those who sat at the table with him. Then Mary took a pound of very costly oil of spikenard, anointed the feet of Jesus, and wiped his feet with her hair, and the house was filled with the fragrance of the oil. But one of his disciples, Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, who would betray him, said, "Why was this fragrant oil not sold for 300 denarii and given to the poor?" This he said, not that he cared for the poor, but that he was a thief and had the money box, and he used to take what was put in it. Now here's the thing that really caught my attention. I think it's worth remembering. But Jesus said, "Let her alone. She has kept this for the day of my burial. For the poor you have with you always, but me you do not always have." I think there's a lesson in discipleship that I've been able to learn and to teach to other people and that is every single day, value and celebrate Jesus as the solution. And then go in the direction of the problems, the challenges, the loving of neighbor, and the other commandments of Jesus. Celebrate Jesus every day as a solution. Give the very best of your attention at the beginning of the day to Jesus. I think Jesus would say that let Bud be alone, leave him alone with me. You will always have opportunities to love others, but start with me. I think one of the most important aspects of a daily discipleship is to celebrate the person of Jesus. I'm not talking about a theological meeting. I'm talking about a personal touch of your life with the life of Jesus, like this that Mary did, where she stopped everything and she made her focus on Jesus absolutely crystal clear by giving the very best that she had, represented here by this a costly oil of spikenard that she used to anoint Jesus, which turned out to be the anointing for his coming death. Start every day giving Jesus your best. You have plenty of opportunity to go out and be involved in the ministry of loving other people and dealing with the realities of this world. But start every day in the presence of Jesus, in the abundance of Jesus, and then go toward the problems that you have to deal with each day. Another thing that I noticed which really brought my attention is that Jesus was attacked because he took away the attention that the leaders of his community, the political leaders, the religious leaders, the leadership class of the country, of the nation of Israel, he diverted the attention away from these people and put the attention on himself. And there's something about this that I think, as a missionary, for instance, living here in Brazil and working in other countries, I'll be headed to Portugal in just a little over 10 days to spend 2 weeks. Political and powerful leaders do not like to lose the attention. And they're okay to let Christianity be sort of a superficial part of the dialogue. But when there actually begins to be influence created by Jesus in the lives of people, many times that's when you'll begin to see the limitations coming along. You'll begin to see people complaining and accusing and wanting to take that attention off of Jesus. We who are disciples need to keep the attention on Jesus Christ and encourage others to put their attention on Jesus Christ, because he really is the solution. And we should celebrate that solution, and we should keep this Jesus as the center of our attention. Another thing in this chapter that I thought was really a beautiful thing was Jesus talked about the Father glorifying himself, and that it was his hour, and that he says, Father, glorify your name. I was really touched again by the meaning of this word glorify. Glorify means to make visible and available. When the glory of God appears, that means that God has made himself visible to us and available to us. Now, we're supposed to, as human beings, glorify God. And according to theologians down through the century, this is the central reason for our existence, that we would be able to, by our behavior, by the quality of our love, by our faith, by our hope, and by our love, especially by love, we would make God's love visible and available. And God has chosen us as human beings to be the way that he glorifies himself. Now, when Jesus came into the world, it says, and the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, full of two things, grace and truth. Grace and truth. That is the availability of God. God is grace. God is truth. And when we love people the way we're supposed to love people, that is the way that we glorify God. That's why the Apostle Paul would say, you could have the faith to move mountains, and you could have all the knowledge that exists, and you could have all kinds of religious experiences, but if you do not have love, then it doesn't hit the mark. It doesn't arrive at the destination. The mark of a Christian is our ability to love people in such a way that we are actually making God's character visible and available. Visible and available. There's so many simple ways to make this happen, and that is just be consistently kind. Look at the list of the fruit of the Spirit in Galatians, where it said love, joy, peace, long-suffering, gentleness, meekness. The characteristics of the Spirit are actions that are beneficial to others, that are coming from a person or a group of people and are given away freely to other people. And by this, the character of God is made visible. The word glorify God or the idea of glorifying God is to make God visible and available. And you can be that glory because Christ in you is the hope of glory. The reason of my existence, the reason of your existence, is to glorify God. Make God visible and available in human flesh so that people will have to stop and say, love actually does exist. And then they would have to question, where does love come from? Why does this person love? And if they were to ask us that question, why do you love? He says, because he first loved me. And then finally, maybe the thought that caught my attention more in this chapter during this week, and maybe it caught yours as well, is when he talks about a grain of wheat must fall into the ground and die, or it will remain alone. But if it dies, it produces much grain. This is where it says that if we save our life or find our life in this world, we will lose our life. That has always been a hard passage to express. I've understood it, but it's hard to express. But let me just give a little try this morning again, and you can chew on this and think about it yourself. Imagine your life as a grain, a seed, and you can keep everything that's in that seed for yourself, and you can live your entire life for yourself, and you can hide yourself away and survive life, but never give life. Because in order to give your life and your life expand and be given away to others, and where you actually have given your life for others, you've actually loved your neighbor as you loved yourself, you must be willing to not protect yourself, to not preserve yourself, but literally you pick up your cross and you follow Jesus. You die to yourself and you live to God. And in the process, your life has an effect on others where the life that you have been living has allowed them to become generous with their life. And it's a process that goes over and over and over in every place where seeds are used to bring harvest of food that is beneficial for everyone. So we look at Jesus and we see him going to the cross, and this is what we're at in chapter 12. Jesus is headed very quickly now to the cross, and he is going to open up his life 100% as a gift to the world, as the power to forgive and to be reconciled with God. And he falls into the ground, so to speak. He is buried, and then out of the grave he comes, and his life multiplies and multiplies and multiplies and multiplies. And you and I are a part of that multiplication. Now he asks us to not just simply survive life or preserve life for ourselves, but to give life away. And it may even mean the giving of our lives in a very hostile environment, so people can have a taste of the fact that there's something worth dying for, and there's something worth living for. And so this process of us letting God have our lives, because he is the Lord and the origin of our lives, so that this life, this abundant life, can spread out in the world and disciples will be made. And it's a beautiful, beautiful picture. And so Jesus explains this to us. If you find your life in this world, in other words, if you keep your life for yourself, then you're going to be alone. And I really think that when we read the stories in the Bible about what makes hell, it is this: you will be alone. You will be alone. This is a universe in which you can only be with God if you come to God through Christ. If you allow yourself, you are going to the presence of Christ, you receive your forgiveness, and then you pick up your cross and you deliver love to other people, and you live as the presence of Jesus in the world because Christ lives in you, and then that spreads this grain out and it's given away freely. And then God always knows that we are a part of this process, and we're one of his, and we have everlasting life. There's so much in John chapter 12, so much to meditate on it. I'd recommend you read the chapter again, and if you want to get ahead a little bit, you can start reading chapter 13. But I've really enjoyed this week. There's a busy week here in Brazil. I'm very, very busy in a church plant here in the city, which is now a year and a half ongoing. It's going very, very well. There's another project we're involved with, a trip coming up to Portugal, a lot of really good things. And I hope wherever you are, you will celebrate Jesus each day and deliver God's love. You were created to make God visible and available, because Christ in you is the hope and the power that you can do that. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. And I pray that you will start your day celebrating Jesus with the best that you have. God bless you.